All right, joining us now with more, the host of Untold Patriots, revealed on FoxNation.com, Pete Hegseth, along with Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is with us. Good to see you both. All right, now, if you have one position when Donald Trump's president, one view on striking Syria, and Syria, you know, they're a sovereign country, Pete, and then Joe Biden does it, it's perfectly fine. It's like everything else that the Democrats do. They're all I believers, but they're dead silent when it comes to Andrew Cuomo.
Well, of course, there's only one standard, and it's a double standard in this particular case. Maybe we're lucky, Sean, because Joe Biden hasn't been right on a single foreign policy aspect over the last 40 years. So maybe outsourcing to Kamala Harris is a good idea. How much worse can you do than the worst? But in this particular case, so much of it has to do with the fact that he's not capable. Why would you want him involved in those? And they're grooming her, as the left has from the very beginning, for that particular position. So the problem is it's all so serious, and the half measures that they're taking pale in comparison to the killing of Qasem Soleimani and the sanctions put on by the Trump administration that actually brought Iran to its knees so we could put them in a place where they don't get a bomb. Now we're bombing buildings on the Syrian border without a real strategy on the Iran deal. It's all foolish, and Joe Biden's absent, and he's wrong. Kamala Harris is front and center. Who's really in charge? We don't know, Sean. But I'd be remiss. I'm sitting right here next to my man, Matt Gaetz. He gave a great speech today at CPAC. He rocked the house. I got to say it.
Matt Gaetz, is that true? I mean, really? Now, did you let it all out? Or did you go full on or just half measure? I'm imagining full on Matt Gaetz
Don't
came
Pete and I look
bursting
like we're having
out.
a great time in Florida? Sean, we're having the best time. We're not even wearing ties here in Florida. No ties, no lockdowns, no mandates, just conservatives together enjoying patriotism for our great country. You got Democrats in Congress now, Sean, talking about taking the nuclear authorities away from Joe Biden. You've got Kamala Harris taking these meetings with foreign leaders. You have to wonder, has the transition to Kamala Harris already begun? And I mean, I'm watching those clips you just read of Joe Biden. Joe Biden would score below average on the cognitive matrix at like a Florida retirement community. And somehow this guy is the one that's supposed to be running the country. It really begs a lot of questions. And on this foreign policy stuff, Pete is absolutely right. And we have to realize in Syria, what are we really trying to win there? Like, what does America hope to get out of these misadventures in Syria? I think it's time that we focus on our people. That's the doctrine that President Trump advanced.
You know, I know it's Biden's blunders week in review, and a part of it kind of, Pete, is a little bit funny. You know, he loses his place. I got my card. I feel like he's reading, my name is Joe. My wife's name is Jill. I live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because he was looking for a number that we have lost 500,000 fellow Americans to COVID, and he had just had a vigil, I guess, the day before. And he was having a hard time remembering that number. That's not a hard number to remember. And it was slow, and it was confusing, and he loses his place. It's kind of getting disturbing. And then I watch all this foreign policy being conducted by Kamala Harris, and I begin to wonder why. And why isn't there a State of the Union address scheduled?
Good question. It's not hard, Sean. It really isn't. It hasn't been from the beginning. And in this particular case, day after day, time after time, we have examples. I mean, remember the executive orders? You had the cards with the one line written on what they were, and he was reading them line by line while signing them. Who wrote them? What does he really know about them? Of course, the far left is driving this. And you know why it's serious? Is because they're firing on all cylinders in Beijing. The Chinese know this is the time to full court press on their initiatives, whether it's militarily, in big tech, in their technological advantages. This is serious times. We can't have a guy asleep at the wheel. That's why we can joke all we want. It's not funny, because we have real adversaries that are taking advantage of this moment where we're asleep.
You know, I think about this all the time. Matt Gaetz, guess what? Putin's a hostile actor. Russia a hostile regime. The Iranian mullahs hate us. Joe Biden's trying to get South Korea to hand over $7 billion to the Iranian mullahs. I worry about them. I worry about China. I worry all these hostile regimes. And you've got to believe that they study the American political system. And you got to believe that they see what every person that I know sees in Joe Biden. And do they begin to think they could take advantage of that? That does concern me.
You mentioned the mullahs in Iran. Next week, I'll be introducing the No Cash for Iran Act to ensure that in any re-entry into a deal with Iran, we don't shovel cash at them that then these proxies and militia forces are able to use around the world when they're shooting at Pete's buddies who are still wearing the uniform. So we need to make sure we stand strong on that. But Sean, let us not delude ourselves into thinking that this state of intellectual wonderment that Joe Biden is in is somehow stopping the progress they're making. Remember, Hunter Biden's lawyer's law partner has been installed in the criminal division of the United States Department of Justice. They are taking Peter Strzok's wife and putting her in an enforcement role when you look at the American financial sector. And I think that the vertical integration of people who are going to hunt MAGA, that should concern everyone, and that is happening even though Joe Biden probably doesn't know it.
All right, I don't know. I know both of you pretty well. You're both friends of mine. Gaetz and Hegseth in Orlando. Trouble. I don't know what trouble, but I just sense trouble somewhere, someplace. I'm gonna have to. We'll have to send some bodyguards down there.
Keep bail money, Sean. If we need bail money, we know you can wire it. So just answer if we call tonight.
I'll wire the bail money. I'll be a good Christian. Thank you both.
This is Congressman Matt Gaetz. If you like that video, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and join us on our daily podcast, Hot Takes with Matt Gaetz, on your favorite podcast listening platform.